Hey everybody, it's Sunday, September 7th, 2025, and today we're going to take a look at some clips about what's going on with farmers in the Midwest. Now, I find it hard often to tell or to be able to tell what's going on. You see individual clips, individual stories, and you look at the stats, but very often it's hard to tell what's going on across several states or across a whole large section of the country. And you don't know what you're looking at as a small incidents or a really widespread incidents. But there's a few clips I want to show you today that shows you how bad the problems actually are across a wide part of the country. So let me roll the clip first. This is from K8 in Arkansas.
Farmers in crisis align way out the door of the Woods Chapel Baptist Church in Brooklyn as hundreds of farmers from not only northeast Arkansas, but from across the state came to voice their concerns about the current state of farming.
So let me note first, there are hundreds of farmers in that room, and they have to come pretty far. If I understand logistics in Arkansas, they have to come pretty far to fill this room with hundreds of farmers. So that tells you, that's noteworthy. That tells you this is a pretty widespread thing. So let's continue.
Representatives from U.S. Congressman Rick Crawford, U.S. Senator Tom Cotton, and U.S. Senator John Boozman's offices were in attendance to hear those concerns. Among those farmers in attendance was a farmer in Woodruff County, Chris King. He told me this was his 39th harvest, and he has never seen it as bad as this.
And I've never been as worried as I am now about whether or not my kids and grandkids will be able to carry on.
For King, the main problem starts with the fact that they can't sell for profit.
I just would like to see somebody help us get our markets back. We need our exports, and we just need to be paid for what we do. And that's not happening. And we're in real trouble.
So no surprise, a big part of the problem is tariffs.
There's something that rounds out all the issues that they are facing, the tariffs.
I think the tariffs are the ice cream on the cake of a perfect storm. When you try to sell a product, okay, U.S. soybeans leaving New Orleans without the tariff to China are cheaper than Brazilian soybeans at the current market. But when you put the tariff on top of them, Brazilian beans are cheaper.
Let's make sense of that. The tariffs are supposed to help make U.S. production more competitive. But when you put the tariff on, it's actually cheaper for other countries like China to go to Brazil and buy agricultural products. So that's the situation. Here's another report from KATV Channel 7 in Little Rock, Arkansas.
And it's so bad that many are facing bankruptcy or even the closure of farms that have been passed down for generations. A dismal global market and plunging commodity prices mean there's little to no hope of breaking even for many farmers, even as sky-high input costs rise because of inflation and now tariffs. Not to mention bad weather earlier in the year.
This time last year, the rice price was about 40% higher than it is now. The inputs costs have gone up, so after a horrible year last year where most farmers in Arkansas Delta lost money, this year's going to be worse.
Let's listen to what some of the other people at this meeting had to say. And unfortunately, the news is not good.
I'm a sixth-generation farmer from Newport, and we made the decision to go out this year in the spring. So my son will not be the seventh generation on our farm.
5 of my customers have committed suicide. That's how serious that this is.
So let me provide a little bit of context. It is late in the year, and harvest is in the next couple months. So the farmers have planted, they're about to harvest, but at this point, there's not enough buyers. And China, for example, is one of the biggest buyers of U.S. soybeans, and they have not placed any orders. So farmers are going into this year, and I think they've said that they've never been in this situation where they've gone this late in the year, and China has no orders for soybeans on their books. And so they're concerned about making it through the end of the year. And right now, they're really asking for basically a bailout or funds from the government.
We have to have ad hoc payments right now to make it through this year.
If there's no emergency funding this year, there will be 1 out of 3 farmers will file bankruptcy.
So there's not only a buyer problem, but there's also a price problem. This is also from K8 in Arkansas. from about 10 days ago.
One farmer that I spoke to in Rector said that while he has farmed his whole life, this year has him worried.
I've never in my life faced a time, and I've been farming since 1993 on my own, where the outlook is so bleak financially.
In a year where crops have been tested by Mother Nature, the toughest test may lie just ahead for farmers. Harvest begins across Arkansas, but for farmers like Cliff Carter, the challenge will happen after.
This is the first time in my life farming that I still have crop in my bins that I can't sell.
Despite a good crop this year, Carter says the prices they get for those crops won't cover expenses. He's not alone. Ag America reported in March the agricultural trade could reach a record trade deficit. Carter says the price for crops has dropped drastically.
Basically, what we're getting out a bushel of corn or a bushel of rice would be like you making $5 an hour and trying to pay your bills at home. In today's time, we can't do it.
Carter says farmers face challenges from several angles. Earlier this year, tariffs were imposed on U.S. exports. Carter said while businesses can fight tariffs by raising their prices, the reality is not the same for farmers.
We can't do that. Our price, the price is set for us is global market.
He said those tariffs are costing farmers their biggest customers.
Mexico and China are the two biggest rice buyers for the United. They buy more rice off of us than anyone, and when they stop buying rice, we have nowhere to go with the rice.
Carter said it's not just tariffs. The rise in global competitors like Brazil is also hurting farmers. Selling domestically is an option, but
I was offered $3.90 a bushel for rice last week to make dog food out of. That won't even cover my seed cost hardly.
Agriculture is a $20 billion industry in Arkansas.
So I would not be surprised if there were a bailout from Trump. I mean, they are in trouble, and I know a lot of people are FAFO, but nobody wants the farmers to go out of business. It would be terrible for them. It would be terrible for America as a whole. And let's not forget, this is what happened last time. So Trump started his trade war somewhere around 2018 or 2017, give or take. And, of course, there was a bailout, $23.7 billion and $32 billion in 2019 and 2020, up from $13.7 billion or so in 2018. And this is actually something that is not often covered, and a lot of people or a lot of news outlets don't really talk about. But look at how much money went to bail out farmers the first time around. Of course, I don't understand why they voted for him again. Maybe because they figured, well, if something goes wrong, Trump will bail them out again. And probably that is what will happen. But let's really think about this, okay? We have a tariff policy that increased the cost of inputs, that drove customers like China away, and then drove them into the hands of the competition, like Brazil. Farmers are going out of business, and it looks like some farmers will go out of business before that bailout occurs. And then there's going to be a bailout that Americans will have to pay for. So here's a problem that Trump created, that Trump will solve, or will have to solve, and American taxpayers will have to pay for it. So that's where we are. This is America 2025.